I'm Gerson Borrero, City and State TV. We're in Albany, of course, where all the political attention is in New York State. We're joined by Jeffrey Dinowitz, who represents the 81st Assembly District in the Bronx, the county in the Bronx. You also lead the delegation for that county, the Bronx. Where are we here? I mean, it's like everybody has different versions of what's happening with the governor, what's happening in the Assembly, what's happening in the Senate. Give us a sense of where you're seeing this right now.
Well, there's no deal yet. Hopefully we're getting close. The problem is we believe that we have to really come back with something strong for the tenants in New York City. For the past 15 years plus, the scales have not been balanced. In the late 90s, the legislation was passed that gave the landlords their vacancy decontrol. They get these huge increases from MCIs, from individual apartment improvements, from vacancy bonuses. So a system was set up where when rents hit a certain threshold, the apartment can be deregulated. That, combined with all the mechanisms they put in place to raise the rents, means that hundreds of thousands of apartments in New York City have become deregulated in recent years. And it's no coincidence that since those laws were passed, homelessness has skyrocketed in New York. The time periods are almost identical. Homelessness went up after the laws were passed. It's continued to go up under Bloomberg, and certainly it hasn't abated yet. And I think there's a direct link between the huge rent increases that are being imposed by landlords and the increase in homelessness, and we got to do something about it.
So who's not understanding this in the New York State legislature? Certainly you understand in your district, you probably have an over-representation of rent control apartments, units. Certainly Governor Cuomo, a kid who, you know, he's from Queens, he knows, even though he had a private house that he grew up in, what is it that they're not getting and moving this ahead? Carl Hastie understands it. Flanagan may not understand it, guys, but the fact is, New York City, the 5 boroughs are being treated like, you know, like we're off somewhere. Well, where is it? What is it that they don't get?
Well, our speaker, Carl Hastie, has been terrific on this. He has said that this is the #1 issue. He has made it the top priority. The problem is it takes 3 to tango in Albany. You need the governor, the Assembly, and the Senate. And the Senate is run by a Republican majority, most of whom do not represent rent-regulated apartments, because rent regulation covers New York City, it covers places in Nassau and Westchester. So the Republicans, there are 3 of them in New York City, there's a handful in Nassau. So the vast majority of the Republican conference are from upstate. This issue doesn't affect them. How it does affect them is that the industry that's behind keeping these laws in place against tenants are very generous to them. And we got to do something about that, but that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, but the governor has a fundraiser that he's keeping tonight. As a matter of fact, today is Thursday. He has a fundraiser in New York. We don't know if there are going to be real estate interests that are going to be donating to that fundraiser. We don't have a list of who the invitees are. And yet, the rent regulation stuff is up in the air. There are frightened tenants. I'm sure that you're getting calls in your district office. Yeah. You're reacting to that. Carl Hastie understands it. What needs to happen so that you're comfortable? The mayor is already in an uproar. The mayor is really not being listened to either. He's pleading. The public advocate, they have numbers. There's like it's getting to a point, I wouldn't say full hysteria, but a lot of concern by people who really don't understand how this impacts on their monthly rent. So what do you tell them?
Well, first, I think what needs to happen is that the governor, who I know is extraordinarily talented, and when he wants something to happen, he goes to every length he can to make it happen. He has to make looking out for the 2 million New York City residents that are counting on renewing and strengthening the rent laws his #1 priority. Bar none, that should be his top priority in my opinion. If he takes the leadership role on that, combined with the support from the Assembly, I think we will get a much better deal than if we're sort of out there on our own, because we're just 1 out of the 3 in this configuration.
He has been awfully silent. Some define it as deafening silence coming from him, not coming anything from him and getting any word. What At the end of the day, whether a deal is struck tomorrow, over the weekend, or into next week, whatever the scenario is, what do you want? What does Jeffrey Dinowitz, a guy who has to respond to all these rent control things, what do you want? Do you want an extension of what's currently there for how long a period of time? Do you want, what is it that you would feel that you've done your job as a legislator?
If I were writing the law that became the law, I would want to see the various tools that have been used to increase rents by large amounts, such as the 20% vacancy bonus, eliminated. I would like to see MCI, major capital improvements, become temporary surcharges rather than permanent additions to the rent, and the same thing for individual apartment improvements. Those are things that the industry is dead set against, but those three things alone, not to mention eliminating vacancy decontrol, would change everything. Landlords, and I don't begrudge a business person from making a profit. That's what America is all about. But I do begrudge them making a windfall profit on the backs of working people, of poor people, of middle class people, and that's what's been happening for years. The laws in New York State are not even, they're not level. The playing field has not been made fair for both sides. It's skewed very much in favor of landlords, and we got to level the playing field, and that's what we're looking to do this year. And we need a partner. The governor wrote a great op-ed piece in the Daily News recently on these issues, and that's what he should fight for. And if he fights alongside of us, I think we can be successful.
At this point, is the governor all rhetoric and not action, or is it just he committed that to paper, but in reality his actions, I mean, everybody that I turn to seems to think that he's absent, that he's not voicing, and if he is it being done? What is your leader telling you? What is Carl Hastie reporting back in the Democratic conference? Is there something that the governor is not sharing that you could share with us that Carl Hastie has told you that indicates that the governor is in the game and protecting those rent guidelines and the rent control and what renters in New York are looking for?
Well, the governor says he wants to accomplish many of the things we want to accomplish. He has additional things on his agenda that we don't necessarily subscribe to. So he believes apparently that he's with the Assembly on rent and he is with the Senate on some of the other issues that the Assembly doesn't agree with him on. But I believe...
So he's orchestrating on a lot of stuff, and that's...
Well, this is Albany, that's what happened. But I believe that when it comes to 2 million tenants, there should be no other issue that's equal to that. That has got to be the number one issue. The governor has demonstrated time and time again when he wanted to achieve marriage equality, when he wanted to pass the SAFE Act to control guns more in the state. When he's wanted to do some of these things, he's been successful because he does have that ability to bring people together when he wants. He's smart. He knows how to get things done. He should get this done. And if he gets that done, a lot of people, including me, will be very pleased with him.
Jeffrey Dinowitz, leader of the Democratic delegation to the New York State Assembly, representing the 81st District. Good luck, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, thank you.